Hello, my darlings. Welcome back to Conversations with My Higher Self. How are you? Today, we're continuing the conversation about life path numbers with life path number 5, one of my favorite life paths. This is one of the life paths of the Divine Mother. So, we're going into softer territory again. And so, if you are a life path 5 or somebody that you know is a life path 5, listen up. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items. I have another podcast. That one is devoted to meditations and guided journeys. It is called Our Sacred Universe. It is available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. And that one is a force, you guys. So if you are not meditating with me, perhaps you should. That one is shaping up to be a very powerful, very potent healing space. So what we do together on that podcast is above and beyond meditation. We are going into deep healing journeys, into healing spaces where you get to work on everything from your chakras to your karmic lessons. It is worth it. So if you meditate at all, whether you meditate by yourself or you like guided meditations, I think you should check it out and let me know what you think. That's that. That's really all the housekeeping for today. Alrighty. My darlings, let us talk about life path number 5. One of the divine feminine numbers, one of the divine feminine or feminine life paths, alongside life path 2 and life path 8. Life path 5 is that middle ground, is that golden middle of all the feminine, of the 3 feminine life paths. And it represents almost like that fixed sign feminine energy, if you're familiar with astrology, which is the heart of femininity is number 5. It is extremely heart-led. It is a beautiful, almost like Venusian type energy of evolved femininity. So what is a life path number and what does it mean about you and your life if you were born as a life path 5? Just a quick refresher. Our life paths originally are selected for us by our higher selves when our higher selves are sending us on this merry-go-round of incarnating. Every time you incarnate, usually is a new life path number. And, you may repeat life path numbers, you may jump from one to another. Your traditional life path numbers 1 through 9 usually prepare you for one of the 3 master incarnations, 11, 22, or 33. Essentially, there are 12 life paths you could be on. So every single incarnation you could be living could be reduced to one of the 12 main life paths, numbers 1 through 9, as well as 11, 22, and 33. And today we're talking about life path 5. 5 is a number of universal harmony. It is the number of beauty. It is the number of the heart. It is the number of perfection and perfect unity. It is the number of things in equilibrium. It is the number of balance. And so life path 5 tends to be the diplomat. It tends to be heart-led leadership. It tends to be a gentle soul. Very often 5s are gentle beings, gentle souls that lead with a heart, that are very sensitive, that are very loving, that are very giving. 5s are incredible at shifting vibrations of others and changing the energetic fields of spaces. So you have the superpower if you're a 5. When you enter into a room, the room's vibration cannot stay the same. So you are almost like a healer. 5 is one of the healer archetypes, but I don't mean like in a medicine type of way only, because a healer is such a broad spectrum of ideas. So you are the harmonizer of energy, whether that is personal energies, group energies, collective energies, energies of spaces. So when you enter the room, you become the equalizer. So naturally, right? And a lot of this happens in your subconscious and you don't even know that that is happening. Very subconsciously, your energy field would be working with the energies of other people in the room and objects in the room, harmonizing their vibration. In your presence, things bloom, things get healed, people feel better, joy gets brought into the conversation, solutions get found by people. It's almost like somebody's having an argument, like a group of people is having an argument, and you enter the room, and just by the virtue of your presence, you would harmonize that conversation. You would bring the competitive edge, like the heat, a level down, and you would naturally bring about a solution, even if you did not open your mouth. Right? So even if you did not actively propose anything or suggest anything, by the virtue of you being there, things like little puzzle pieces, like little bricks, start to get formed into organized structures. So because of that, you have this healing touch, as I would call it. Because of that, I would say that fives are gifts. If you are a 5 life path, you are a gift to the world. By the way, I'm getting this feedback from the collective that you guys still don't know how to calculate your life path numbers. If you require like a quick download on how to calculate your life path number, please refer to the episode that I did on life path number 1. That is going to like the first 15 or 20 minutes or so of that episode. Talk about how you would calculate your life path number. Give you some context, right? That episode was the foundational episode. Also, there's so many calculators on the internet where you can just enter your date of birth and it'll tell you what your life path number is. That honestly, you don't even need to know how to calculate anything. You just Google it and you'll find your answers. All right, just wanted to get this out of the way because I was starting to get the feedback from the collective that you guys are like, how do I know if I'm a 5? So if you are a 5, you are a gift to this planet. Usually 5s come into lineages to harmonize lineages and to cleanse. 5 is also this vibration of the great cleanse, right? Because in order to harmonize things, you have to clean away the other things that no longer belong. So very often it's 5 is very much the energy of healing waters. And 5 is the energy of flow. If you are a life path 5, then aligning to the universe is very, very important to you. And in your life, you have had these streaks of luck or streaks of flow or abundance that came out of nowhere, that you would just experience this sense of oneness with the universe or nature or God or, just energy, where it just felt like everything was just happening and flowing in your favor and things were just happening for you. Now, you may have also experienced the opposite of that, right? If 5, life path 5 is not fully aligned to who they are, especially if their self-criticism is high, or they haven't fully accepted themselves for who they are, they would attract periods of complete abundance and complete flow. And then, fast forward and it would be like a period of like complete stagnation or actually some bad luck, right? So for them, life is really like a series of black and white stripes intermingling and interchanging and following one another until they come into their own personal equilibrium. So for a 5, it's actually incredibly important to first harmonize their own space, to start with them. Whereas 5 is actually, because they are that healer archetype, if you will, because they're that gift to the universe, their natural inclination is to go out into the world and start helping others, start harmonizing places, events, communities, etc. And they sometimes put themselves last. I will tell you, the healing starts with you, right? Don't make that mistake. Always start with yourself first, because if you spend however many years it takes perfecting your inner vessel, getting to your own personal state of flow, getting into personal state of alignment, getting into the zone where you accept yourself, you love yourself unconditionally, exactly the way you are without needing to change who you are or what you are going to unlock such immense potential. You are like this healing avalanche of waters that could cleanse the entire planet. But for that, you would need to find your center. And that is the one thing. 5s do get distracted because 5 also has this adventurous streak. 5 doesn't like to be contained and 5s thrive on new emotions. 5s thrive on new experiences. They love traveling. They love meeting new people. They love being stimulated. They love learning new things, languages, whatever have you, right? They don't like sitting still. They are scared to death of being bored. Like if you told them, listen, from here on out, there's going to be the 9 to 5. You're going to do the same thing over and over and over again. And then essentially you die. They're going to be like, this is awful, terrible. No, can't. So they don't see a point in a life where like nothing it changes and it's just like the routine and the grind. They are not meant to stick to one thing in their life. And which is almost like the reverse. It's almost like the opposite of what you get with life path 4. With life path 4, if you guys remember the masculine, right? It's like the steady movement towards one goal. With 5, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to pick one direction. In fact, I would tell you that you would be really limiting yourself if you tried to define yourself as one thing. So 5s are meant to have multiple careers. I want to say, like, I don't know if that makes sense what I just said, but pursue, you're meant to pursue multiple things. Like, you're not meant to put yourself in a box and just be rigid about like, this is what I am, right? Very often they would get a degree in one thing. Their first job is going to be in a whole complete other field. And then like the 5s really are able to change their careers like 10 to 20 times if they chose to, right? If that feels good. And in fact, they're not really meant to stay in one thing. And you would notice if you're a 5 that if you stay in one thing for too long, you feel stifled and constrained. It's almost like that spark, that inspiration is gone, right? So it's very important for you to integrate change into your life in a very healthy way, right? Because your soul is naturally going to be inclined to test out a few different things, to constantly be on the go, if that makes sense, right? So what are the forms that can take? Always changing careers. It could take the form of travel, or it could take the form of always changing relationships. Arguably, right? Of these 3, the easiest one is just to let yourself travel, to let yourself be in physically like in different places, right? Because if you take care of that restless spirit inside of you with the help of travel, then you would find it a lot easier to commit to people and relationships, to commit to even career paths, to commit to projects, right? If you are not getting that, it's almost like the Sagittarius. 5 has a lot of Sagittarius energy. Sagittarius needs to be traveling the world. They need to be meeting new people. They need to be at parties. They are gregarious. They are outgoing, all of these things. And so if 5 does not allow themselves that stimulation from the outside world, they would wither away like a flower that is not getting sunlight or not getting nourishment. Now, I will tell you, of course, as a 5, you may have your own set of hobbies and like you may find some things more pleasurable than others. So it's very important for you to understand what fills up your cup. Is that going to galleries? Is that dancing or working out? Like, or yoga, whatever. Is that traveling? Is that reading, curling up on the couch with a good book? Like, what is your flavor of pleasure? What is your flavor of joy? Get really good at understanding that. Get really good at filling your own cup. With 5s, because they're so considered, they're relationship people. It's very important for them to be that glue that glues everybody together. But they're really, really good with groups. 5s like to bring large groups of people together, and they can find and really bring cohesion into a group. They're really good hosts and hostesses. Like, if you're organizing a party, ask a 5 because they are like naturally fabulous at that. The 5s also appreciate the finer things in life. If you're a 5, you may find yourself really liking things that are luxurious and really comfortable. You may struggle with things that are subpar in terms of quality because you're a little bit of a perfectionist. Like I don't think that like if you're picking a vacation spot, I don't think you're going to want like a shack or hostel somewhere. You're probably going to want to be as close to a 5-star hotel as you can be. There is that very Venusian, like refined part of you that is very aristocratic, almost royalty. Like there is that little streak, which some people may even perceive as arrogance. This is you being naturally in tune with harmony and beauty, right? Which is just the law of perfect proportion. So you like proportionate things. You may actually find yourself wanting to surround yourself with beautiful things. So very often 5s like love florals and like orchids and things that are just aesthetically very beautiful. They may pay attention to appearances more than others. They like things like interior design. Now let's maybe talk about the 5 growing up. The 5 growing up did not like rules. They did not like to follow rules. They just did not get the concept of rules because they are despite the fact that they're not necessarily like that go-getter, they need to have their own space. Like it's very important for them to have their own space. They're very, they like their own home. They like their own territory. They're particular. They're choosy. They're selective. And you start seeing that even in childhoods. Like they're particular about what they eat. They want this, but they don't want that. They're like picky, choosy. Um, they could also be a little bit moody when they are a kid, right? They're not, they have a lot of emotion, and they're not always really good as children at processing that emotion. So sometimes that means that it comes like in a form of a tantrum, or just being like too opinionated. And sometimes there's a lot of them, meaning like, like when your parents would be like, you're too much, like chill for a little bit. Five, because they're very particular, they're not really here to not like to be seen and not heard. So they naturally would kind of like draw people into their orbit. Five is a very magnetic number, right? So very often you would have children that, because they had this magnetic power, they kind of magnetized everybody into their orbit, and they would have the adults dancing to their tunes and dancing to the beat of their drums a little bit. So it's a very fascinating actually thing to watch. But at the same time, fives are extremely lovable children. So despite, their little quirks, they very often tend to be favorites of teachers, educators, parents, whomever. Like five is a very lovable child because they tend to be just very adorable, and they do carry within themselves this very soft energy of the Divine Mother, very loving. Their fives are very often really, really good at all kinds of emotional things, meaning when they grow up, they're really good with empathy and understanding another and expressing how they feel and being very eloquent. They're very often very good communicators. They have their hearts very open, so they're able to feel like a whole breadth of emotions. And you will feel it as if you're a five, you would notice sometimes that you feel things deeper than other people. It may come in so many different ways and shapes and sizes. Like you may like romance and like romantic movies, and it just movies that give you the feels, like that may feel really good to you. Fives usually really love water, water sports, not just sports, just water, anything by the water, with the water, ocean, sea, river, lake, they're there, bath, shower, like all of it, right? They're the water buddies. But again, they are always, and that is kind of like if I were to like draw the purpose and describe the purpose of a five, that is seeking perfection. So if you've ever seen a perfectionist, that's this. Like that's life path five. They like, it's very hard for them to settle. Nothing is ever good enough, right? So they have a very high bar for excellence. They have a very high bar that they set in front of themselves and others. And sometimes it's really, really hard to meet that bar. And they set very high bar for society as well. They have this utopia view or vision in their head of what a perfect society should be, a perfect family should be, a perfect body should be, a perfect life should be. And it's almost like they're always trying to hit that bar. And with that, they have a little bit of a Virgo in them. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Virgos, if you're into astrology, but this would be like a good analogy of a sign. Like they are deliberate. They need things done a certain way. They're the most likely to send a meal back to the chef at a restaurant because it wasn't done. Like, if I told you it needs to be medium rare, it needs to be medium rare. Don't give me a medium, or don't give me a rare. Like they're that particular. Yeah. So same thing about like their wardrobe. They receive something, like God forbid you are like a dressmaker and you're making a wedding dress for a five, forget about it. Or like a wedding suit. They're going to be like, okay, this needs to be perfect down to a T. And, and their weddings are like the ultimate perfection feast or fest. And so they're going to be like really trying to get everything perfect. And, for the challenge of five is Perfection is really hard to find, you guys, especially in the third dimensional world, right? So they may drive themselves crazy trying to achieve these unachievable ideals. And they may drive their partners and their loved ones and their families crazy right alongside with them. Something is not the perfect temperature. Why is my tea a little bit too cold, a little bit too hot? Or this is just not just right. And like, why is the shade of blue off? They may drive their partners crazy because of that. And sometimes it feels like their partner may feel like it's just impossible to reach that level of perfection. And there's always that high bar that they need to reach. And if they're not reaching it, somehow they're not good enough, right? And there's fives get to be very judgy because of that, right? They could be very judgmental despite the fact that they are bringing with themselves like such a beautiful feminine energy, right? But that is the challenge, and that is their shadow, is despite the fact that they themselves don't like to be put in a box, they tend to put other people in boxes and be like, my way or the highway, like these are my expectations, you better meet them. So there's a little bit of that with five. And that thirst for perfection is lifelong. It's a lifelong journey. And that's why very often fives may find it hard to be satisfied with their outputs, with the work that they do. If you recognize yourself, if you're a five and you feel like nothing that you do is ever good enough, know that it is not your work that is the issue. It is just your life path in some ways, right? That is to blame here. Not that this is somehow a predicament and you cannot avoid it and escape it. Just recognize your natural tendency to have things perfect and know that it may be unattainable. And so I think my advice for you is try to go easy on yourself and others. Just allow others to breathe. Allow yourself to breathe. The world is not going to fall apart if the cake that you baked today is not perfect. Not everything needs to be top notch all the time. Allow yourself, liberate yourself from the constraints and the chains of having to always meet some type of bar and hit some type of bar. Because sometimes you would notice that your sense of self-worth is dependent on whether something is perfect or not in your life. So you would always want to be like a perfect wife, a perfect mother, a perfect employee, like a perfect daughter or like son or whatever, right? Do you know what I mean? Or like a perfect husband, like, because fives doesn't just mean feminine. There's that perfection, and like if you're not meeting it somewhere, all of a sudden, like it's like the domino effect. If one thing is out of alignment, it feels like everything is out of alignment. So be able to compartmentalize things, right? Just because something is not perfect at your job doesn't mean you're a failure at life. What is important for you is to allow yourself the breathing room. And your healer is nature. Try to get out in nature as much as possible. For you, not having access to nature could be extremely detrimental to your health, right? Because fives very often vibrate at the level of the heart, and as such the nature also vibrates at the level of the heart. As such, they're part, they are such a part of the ecosystem. That's why their energies are so healing in the first place, that they need to have their bodies reset once in a while, and not at least once a week, I think, just to maintain like perfect balance and perfect state of perfect optimal health. And so fives need to be in nature once a week. Whatever that is, whatever your flavor of nature is that you really love, it is going to be different for every single one of you, because each of you is a perfect, unique snowflake, unlike the rest. But you would find so much solace in nature. And it's actually, for you, it's really, really good to have a pet. You need to take care of someone or something in order for your nurturing energies to go into like another being that you can take care of and that is going to stay with you no matter what. Like it's like your pet. It's important for you to have something that's of your own that you could cultivate. Fives care about their house or their home a lot. So, the one thing that fives, it may be advisable for you to do is, if you feel like redecorating for every holiday, if you feel like, every 2 years you want to change up your home or whatever and buy a whole new set of furniture, allow yourself to do that, because that is your five trying to express itself. And you would notice that when you allow yourself some of these quirks, some of these natural tendencies, you get yourself back into the flow. And that flow really pays off for you, right? Once you get into that state of flow by enabling yourself to find that beauty, to harmonize your perfect environment to really invest in your home, you would notice that there's so much inspiration that just comes through and in every area of your life, and things just continue to thrive and continue to grow. And for you, I would say, because you're so heart led, very often your hearts may be inundated with everything, like too much feels, right? There's so much emotion that you cannot process because, again, you feel deeper than a lot of other people. Allow yourself to have heart detoxes. There are a lot of meditations I have on our Sacred Universe podcast around heart space healing, clearing, etc. You may love this. You also need baths to detox, de-stash, all of that, cleanse away all the dirt and debris. So you may benefit from that. That's all I had for you for today. Sending you a big virtual hug, my loves. If you're a 5, you're rocking. Never forget that you're a gift to this universe and to planet Earth. And, as a gift, just be excited. Be excited because you are special. I kid you not. Alrighty, big virtual hug. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, loves.